we always learn, we're studying the faith, that the earliest Christians found time to go on pilgrimage, to go to the holiest places. One, to remember, I think, what had gone before them, the sacrifice and the people who laid the foundation of the faith. They were in these places. They gave their life to God, for God, at these places. And so I think when you go to a holy site, you remember them, but also it's a place to encounter Christ. And so the Holy Land pilgrimage is different in the sense that it wasn't just historical people in the life of the church. It was Christ himself, the apostles, the ones who gave us the faith and revealed the faith to us. And so being able to go on this pilgrimage is different. It's different, I think, than any other pilgrimage. It has to be, because I can go to, I've been on pilgrimage, let's say, to Mexico City, which is a beautiful place to go and to see that cathedral, but it's not going to even compare to the Holy Sepulchre, where Jesus gave his life, rose from the dead. It's just a different experience. And so I think you go on pilgrimage to encounter Christ, like everything, to know him and love him and to find new ways to serve him in this life, so that you can come back to your home and with a new perspective on the faith and a new desire and ability to live the faith for Christ. Trip to the Holy Land has an impact on you that's different than anything, an experience that you can have. So the impact is, it happens in many ways. So when you go to a site like the primacy of Peter, and you hear that scripture from John's Gospel, and you're reading that, and you're looking at the shore and the water, everything just comes to life, and so you're not only there, but everything that the scripture is describing as you're reading the Bible becomes real. So I think that's the greatest impact, right? One of the great impacts is the stories, the Bible that you've grown up with, and what you hear at Mass week in and week out, they become real. They become a real experience. So you're living the gospel. You're walking the gospel message. When I was for example, the first time I walked into the synagogue in Capernaum, we were able to read the Bread of Life discourse. I just had this amazing sensation, one of Christ is speaking directly to me. But I mentioned this at a homily recently. I said, when I was in that synagogue, I had this deep urge to want to preach the gospel and talk about Christ there. You were just in that place and you're like, everyone gather around, because I want to talk about God. And so I think that's a really powerful thing that can happen there. And so the Gospels come to life, they become real, and in that the encounter with Christ becomes a real amazing thing. I've seen pilgrims encounter Christ in beautiful ways. One other beautiful example is when you're in the tomb, you're in the Holy Sepulchre, but you're having Mass in the tomb, be able to walk into that place where Mass is being celebrated, the altar, but to kneel down and place your hands on the stone where Christ laid his body, where his body was laid. People come into that place and you don't walk out the same, you're transformed. Because it's not just what we're reading, but it's the place it happens. It's beautiful. There were so many highlights and things that happened, throughout the entire pilgrimage. times when, especially as a chaplain, you really were able to not just encounter the Christ in the moment, but encounter Christ in the people that you're with. And so one of the great gifts I have as a chaplain is to celebrate Mass at each of these places and to pray a votive Mass at those places in that location. So imagine being on the Mount of the Beatitudes and reading that gospel and celebrating Mass there and being able to really enter into that moment, the gospel that you hear. And so each place we hit was like that. I mean, every place we went to visit, you were able to hear that being proclaimed, but also be in that place and enter into that moment. So the Mount of Beatitudes was a powerful and has been a powerful place in our pilgrimage. Certainly being in Nazareth, the Church of the Annunciation, and being able to chant the Mass there and see the place where Mary said yes to God. I always loved being in Bethlehem, because there's that thought of, the Holy Family was here, just giving their life to each other, and in that love and everything that was happening in that moment, Christ comes into the world. So to be able to be in the place where God touches the world, where He's able to come into our presence in that way. So Bethlehem is just a beautiful place to go. Then to one of my favorite places is the Church of the Visitation. To go up to that place where Elizabeth came to meet Mary, and to be able to sing the Magnificat, and to be able to pray as Mary prayed. And so many beautiful moments. I think probably, of course, the highlight of all of our experience pilgrimage is to visit the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. And so, as casting nets, we don't wait till the last day. When we get to Jerusalem, we're going to the Holy Sepulchre every day, and we're getting up early to make that walk to encounter Christ there, because all of our faith and everything we believe culminates at that moment of His passion, death, and resurrection. Without that, we have no faith. We have no belief. We don't have anything. And so you don't wait to go there. And so being able to walk there with the people, to walk through those doors, to walk up to Calvary and touch the place where Christ gave His life, to be able to go into the tomb and pray in that holy place, in that small but intimate area where Christ's body was laid, but also that exact place where He rose from the dead. So it's not just impactful to go into that tomb, but it's even more so maybe to come out and go, Christ is alive. So we celebrate Mass there to celebrate His death, but also His rising to new life. So it's such a wonderful experience because of that journey. And really for a pilgrimage to the Holy Land, it's not just visiting the sites, but also walking the story of Christ's ministry, but also the culmination of Him giving His life on the cross and rising so that we could have life. Yeah, if you have been wondering in your life, where should I go on pilgrimage? I think that there's really no other pilgrimage list item than the Holy Land. So there are lots of wonderful places to go, but this is definitely got to be at the top of the list, especially as a Christian or as a Catholic. So if you've been thinking, okay, when should I go and should I put it off any longer? I would say that the time is now, and you should come with casting nets. If I could just plug it that way. But because I think they're offering casting nets is offering an opportunity to not just go there, but to really experience the Holy Land and really encounter Christ there. And so I don't know what else to say in that sense, except, this is a trip of a lifetime. It's worth the money. It maybe even be worth going in a little bit of debt. That's what I did. I remember one of the first pilgrimages I went on, I spent a lot of money and was paying it off for a while. But it was worth it because of what you can do, what you can experience there. And I think, start saving now and start looking at how you can make this happen so that you don't miss out. And some people will say, oh, the Holy Land, the first thing that comes to their mind is it safe? Is it, that question I think is big. And in my experience, it's always been safe, hospitable. People are very welcoming and are ready to welcome you there. And in that sense, it's always been a great experience. And so don't wait. Come to the Holy Land with casting nets.
See, look, you're converting people. He wants to go now.
I want to go. Convincing you.